UC-0123. After a generation of peace on Earth, After a generation of peace, the Earth Federation has begun to build new space colonies to house humanity's growing population. But a new force, the aristocrat Crossbone Vanguard, plans to seize the colonies of the newly constructed frontier side for itself. As the home becomes a battlefield, a handful of young civilians struggle to escape the conflict. To save his friends and family, the reluctant warrior Seabook Arno becomes the pilot of the new Gundam, which bears the code name F91.
Can you believe a reluctant teenage pilot gets behind the controls of a Gundam to save and protect his home?
Again?
That's crazy. But
No
yes,
way.
F91 takes place in the Universal Century, so same century, Xeon Federation, same timeline, I should say,
Just
or
like way,
universe.
way in the future.
Not actually, not that way in the future. If I remember right, it was in the year 130, which is like
It's the year UC 123 and Stardust Memory, I believe, takes place in like 079, I think.
79 is the original series because it actually took place in the quote unquote year that it aired. So like 79, 1979, Universal Century 79.
Oh yeah, gotcha.
That's why
Okay.
I thought this only took place like 10 years afterwards because it's F91 and it came out in the 90s, I believe. So I was like, oh, it takes place at the same time? No, it takes place like 30, 40 years in the future.
It's so far in advance, like the only thing to come after this will be Gundam Crossbones. And unlike the false narrative of the final end card, this does not continue. This is not the very beginning.
This, yes. But
This,
yeah,
in fact, is the beginning and the end.
it's correct. But I mean, Gundam Crossbones does exist in manga form. I actually read I actually do want to go back and read through it now that I have the context of F91. And by now, I mean, we actually watched this a couple years ago and I forgot. I just
Yeah,
completely forgot I watched this until we started watching it again. I was like, "Oh yeah, that does happen. I remember."
but before we rewatched it, Jesus.
Yes.
uh, the only thing I could remember was the very end of this, and something that happens in the very beginning. Your favorite part?
My favorite part.
Yeah, isn't your favorite part when the Crossbone Vanguard attacks the colony, and then like you have the gun tank that's there shooting up into the sky, and it's got all these shell casings raining down civilians,
Okay, it
and then
is.
it
First of all,
and then
it's
it beams
not my
the
favorite part, but it is very funny you say that because that's exactly the video that I'm playing in the background for this. Not just that on loop, but like the beginning where it's the Crossbones Vanguard is attacking. But to be fair, that is the most action packed part. Well, I mean the end also, but and parts in the middle. But yes, no, that part was funny because one of the podcasts that I listened to, that there was a gentleman named Wooly Versus, and he mentioned that his favorite mobile suit is that gun cannon. And he's like, man, it kind of sucks that the only time it's really shown is in a film where it's raining down death on civilians. And it's like, you pick your favorite war machine. And I do have to say, one of the things I really like about this is let me pull up its name because it's got a weird one. The Denon Zon, which is the name of the primary mobile suit type that although I think there's some other ones. There's the Denon Zon and the Denon Denon Gi, and the Abhura and the Burga, and but they're all based on the same type, which I think one of the most interesting sort of, I don't know what I would call it, details is that all the mobile suits used by the Crossbone Vanguard, I believe, are based on some form of mobile worker called the Dessa. And the reason I find that interesting is because they're not Xeon, right? They're not the Principality of Xeon. They are just their own minor sub faction of rebels that popped up in the Universal Century. They have nothing to do with Xeon, as far as I'm aware. They're just a single colony of weirdos that are like, we're going to spread a vision of.
We're aristocrats. We deserve this colony because we're gonna fight on the front lines ourselves.
Yes, basically the like only the aristocracy has the vision to maintain society. It's just, it is interesting that it's just one little like political faction unattached to the traditional Federation Xeon war, as far as I'm aware. Maybe in some book somewhere they're like they love Xeon, but as far as I'm aware, they're completely unrelated.
It strikes me as rich person is like, you know what? I got all these mobile suits. I'm just going to take over a colony, make it my own, and I'll rule over the colony, and that'll be that.
Yes, the New Babylon, I believe, is what they called their new government.
Yes, they did. Which
what?
Which, man, that's like naming your ship the Titanic.
True. But overall, yeah, the general plot of the movie is actually quite straightforward. This group of Crossbone Vanguard attack a colony, and in the process of attacking the colony, it turns out they are looking for someone, this young teenage girl, who turns out to be the heiress of the aristocrat, the main, what is he, does he call himself the emperor? Or the king of the Crossbone Vanguard? Basically the granddaughter of the head of the Crossbone Vanguard. And he's trying to basically bring her home and also conquer the colony. And in the process, the friends of the daughter escape the destruction of their colony, only to find themselves back in the conflict, going to another colony that the Crossbone Vanguards also spreads to. There they team up with the Federation.
They're kind of like sucked into the Federation.
They're kind of conscripted. They're kind of conscripted into the Federation, yeah.
They literally pull up and are like, hey, we got a new mobile suit. We already have all our pilots piloting something. You got some kids. Make one of them pilot it.
Yes, and it turns out that the main heroine, hero, not heroine is a lady, hero of the movie, classic Gundam faction, his mother was an engineer on that new mobile suit that they have, the F91. And so they're able to basically pilot it.
And yeah, there's like a little technical issue they have with getting it up and running. And the engineer is like, yeah, I can't make sense of all this wiring and the biorhythm stuff. And then the sister comes along who's like 5 years old and is like, it's just this the hanging bridge thing, and she makes like a construction out of some yarn, like pulled between her fingers. And it's like, oh, it's like this. And then sure enough, they put that configuration into the mobile suits thing, and it makes it work.
Yep. And basically follow kind of two paths in this movie: the daughter, the granddaughter of the leader of the Crossbone Vanguard, and what she's up to, as her father, Iron Mask,
who wears this iron mask. It will bring death with his iron mask.
Yes.
With which he shares his name, Iron Mask.
I quite like his drip. His drip's great. Immaculate. And I forget the name of the head of the Crossbone Vanguard mobile suit wing. He's got the eye patch, and I believe he also shows up in Gundam Crossbones in the manga.
He's voiced by Garen, right?
Yes, he is voiced by Garen. We watched the dub, the English dub. And he is voiced by, yes, Garen Tager. That his name escapes me, but yes.
So the character's name is Zabine Shrux, and Garen's voiced by Jameson Price.
Got it. Yes. So, and we follow her, and then we also follow the young lad that is her friend, and his involvement in the Federation. Neither at the moment know each other, like are still alive, until much later in the film, where they actually face off against each other. And in the process of them facing off with each other, she defects along with there was another lady pilot that was she defected too from the Crossbone Vanguard back to the Federation. Not that important.
Yeah, she like dies immediately.
Yes, and then basically, if I remember right, the big fight. God, what? Why does Iron Mask take out the big Cian enemy? Oh, they're fighting the reinforcements of the Federation coming from the moon.
Yeah, and Sabine is like flying around like he's damaged and is like, "Hey, I'm gonna stay here and get my repairs. Can I get my repairs done here?" And he's like, "Nah, go find somewhere else to get your repairs done. We're doing some secret stuff over here."
Yes. And basically, I mean, the final act is kind of just everyone ends up in the crossfire between the Federation reinforcements and Crossbone Vanguard, with the F91 taking on Iron Mask in his weird space anemone thing.
Space anemone mobile armor that's powered by his new type brainwaves.
Which is cool. I think the aesthetic of Iron Mask is really cool. And I don't...
It's... The Sakuga in like the animation and the aura of this show holds up really well. It's just the plot is kind of...
It's not bad.
The kid gets in the mobile suit, goes to fight the bad guy, loses, goes to fight the bad guy, wins. That's kind of what happens.
Yeah. And he loses his friend, the granddaughter, has a moment where she's lost in space, and I believe he finds her. It's not bad. It's not a bad plot by any means. It's just
very simple and straight to the point.
It is a movie plot that is unattached to anything else, right? Like,
yeah, and
by design.
I would imagine this was like a book or a manga before it was made into an anime. So I'm sure that there's like so much stuff that was left out in order to fit this into how long? 118 minutes?
Yes, which by the way, I'm pretty sure is about as long as our review of Tone. But it's not bad.
But like,
it's not. I want to point out we're giving off a vibe that we think it's bad. It's not bad by any means. It's just
not bad. It's just like it's all right. If I were to give it a score out of 10, I would give it a 6.
Yeah. Do you know what this would be great for? If you have someone who is kind of interested in like the classic, not quite classic since it was in the 90s, but like the older school Universal Century, but they're not like 100% on watching like say like Gundam Origin or one of the other like OVA series. They just kind of want to dip their toe, like just a little
quick in and out. A quick in and out, 118 minutes. It'll be a quick journey.
Yeah, just like literally, if you want to just give someone a taste of Gundam, you know, like just a little taste in a single movie that is unattached to anything else. You don't need to know any backstory around anything. Yeah, this would be like perfect. Like it hits all the tropes, of course. Again, child soldier, princess.
Steals the mobile suit.
War. Yeah.
They steal the mobile suit from the museum.
They do. But yeah, it just feels very unattached to anything, which it is by design, and that's probably also one of its strengths, is that, again, you can just give someone a taste. This person doesn't know anything about Gundam. That's fine. Here's a movie. You get it. It's in space. There's colonies, there's an aggressing force, there's a Federation, there's a Gundam, so on and such forth.
A couple of my favorite scenes are when they take the transforming mobile suit out of the museum and use it to like just try to get away, but they also shoot every once in a while and it blows up the barrels.
Yes.
It's a really cool and unique touch. I like it.
It does a very good job of also, maybe this is me as the Xeon sympathizer, but it also does a very good job of like, hey, the Federation kind of sucks a little bit. They're kind of assholes.
They're kind of just like, hey kid, you like mobile suits? No, get in a mobile suit.
Also, I forgot until this is just the beginning, like intro part, and actually I don't think it shows the. I'll try to find the video of the mother and child being flattened by shell casings, but I forgot, like when they're in the tank and they like round a corner and there's like a Federation blockade. They're like, cool, get to the front lines, kids. You got the mobile suit. And they're like, no, we're leaving. And they're like, what? No, you're not. Get in here. Get over here. Like they tried
Get
to.
over here. Why are you running? Why are you running away?
Why are you running?
A really cool scene was when Cecily and her grandfather are in like the mansion, and then she asks her grandfather as they're being attacked, like, how can you be so calm when you're under attack like this? And he's like, well, a beam could just come straight up from underneath us through the floorboards and we'd be dead in an instant, so no use in complaining about it.
There was a pretty
I'm like,
baller line in that same vein. So the scene we're talking about is the if you're unfamiliar with Gundam colonies, they are O'Neill cylinders, which means they are cylinders that spin to simulate gravity, and people exist along the inside of the cylinder. So you look up, and you are basically looking up to the opposite side of the cylinder.
yeah.
And they are being shot at by Federation ships, which are firing lasers into the colony, which are coming up from the ground. The what they perceive as ground, the side of the cylinder. And I think she gives a line that I don't remember what it is, but it was like, imagine being attacked from space. We are being attacked from space from beneath us, something like that.
Yeah.
And it's basically these giant pillars of light just effectively erupting out of the ground.
And you even have like all these civilians gathered in tents next to the big governor palace that everyone's in, and you get these beam shots coming up out of the ground next to them, obliterating these campsites.
Yes, and poking holes into space.
Also, a neat little like throwaway one-liner. I'm sure it's probably like a bigger deal in like the manga or the book or what have you, but Iron Mask's mask like suppresses his emotions, and it's not quite sure. I'm not quite sure with the ending. Seabook's mother gets on board and is like, "You have the ability you have the ability to sense her. You just gotta let the mobile suit help you." Which
And
I'm assuming.
I think she also says like you gotta focus and calm down.
Yeah, and then after the credits, you have like a little scene. You have like a little cut of a head, half of it being Iron Mask, half of it being the F91 helmet. So I'm assuming that if the Iron Mask suppresses the emotions, that the F91 expresses emotions.
I'm not. I was gonna say the way I took Iron Mask saying that the mask suppresses his emotion, I thought it meant more like a metaphorical. Like he puts it on and it allows him to be zen, but it doesn't actually have any physical properties. It's just like, I'm not going to show any emotion because I got the mask on.
But I took it as literal because like new types let you pilot all like 100 funnels at once, which he kind of does with all the tendrils at the very end in the mobile armor.
True. That is
but it's up for interpretation, really.
Yeah.
There's not really any clear-cut answers or questions in this show.
Yes, and the reason I actually knew this series existed was because it's a I was going to say a prequel, but it's not really a prequel. It's just before Crossbones, which I read a bit of, and I was like, what the heck? Who's this? Who's this? What's going on? But
oh my god, that cloak is so cool.
It is cool, yes. But yes, so eventually this goes into Crossbones Gundam, where the Crossbone Vanguard is not quite as evil. Good for them. They make a turnaround to be a little less evil, and they get and I believe the F91. I think the F91 becomes the Crossbones. I don't remember. I have to reread it. But yeah, I mean, there's not a whole lot to say about F91 that we haven't. It's a fairly short film. It's not bad. It's perfectly passable. It's like a one-off thing. It's not really attached to anything.
Good animation, good music. It's pretty good.
Yeah, it's got some great mech designs. It's got the Stark. Is it the? It's the Stark, not the Jagan. Stark. It's a Stark. Jagan is specific.
Stark Jagan is in the Unicorn. Stark is, I think, a later model of the Stark Jagan.
Got it.
Oh, I fucking love the Stark. It's so cool. I love the color on it. Oh, and it's such a cool jobber mech.
This, yeah, and I already mentioned I quite like the Dessa pattern mechas that the Dessa pattern mobile suits that they use. But yeah, do you have anything else?
Uh, not really.
It's not a
it's
favorite, but it's not awful.
it's okay.
It's a solid. All right.
Let me see. I got the Blu-ray, and that's how we watched it. The Blu-ray as of the time of this recording is $26 on Amazon, which is
Fine.
a really good deal for what it's worth.
Yeah, which is totally passable for Blu-ray of a movie.
Especially for a Blu-ray anime movie. Normally that shit's like $70, $60.
God, fucking anime on Blu-ray. But yeah, that's F91. Give it a watch if you want. Like that's kind of my that's kind of my review. If you want to watch it, watch it.
If you got the time, watch it. It's worth a watch.
It
At
is.
least it's
It
at
is.
least worth a watch for the opening scene of the gun tank just dropping the casings on that mother.
Yeah, you love to see it.
War crimes.
War crimes. Gundam, certified Gundam classic.